Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of From Donuts to Dinners. My name is Chef Chris, and today I got a great dish for you. Also a dish that's something you probably had in your life, depending on what part of the country you're from. You have different styles of it. But what we're gonna make today is we're gonna make crab cakes with a roasted red pepper coulis. All that is basically a roasted red pepper sauce, but we're gonna make it in such a way that using some ingredients you maybe have not used before, or with a different style of cooking that you have in your part of the country. So to start off, before we make our crab cakes, we're gonna put together our ingredients to make the base, the filling for the crab cakes. I like to use as less filling as possible. I like mostly a pure crab cake with just some extra ingredients to give it flavor, give it a little bit of binding, and to hold it together. You're gonna sometimes in restaurants they use a ton of breading, and if you like that, you could use as much breading as you like, but sometimes they do that to save on costs. And it's not a bad thing, but we have the luxury today of having some great crabs, some great ingredients, and we're gonna do some good things with it. So to start off, I minced up some ginger. This is basically just regular ginger. You mince it up a little bit, chop it up. You're gonna add, from the ginger that you're gonna cut up, usually about that size is fine. When it's minced up, you're basically gonna just toss it into a bowl where we're gonna mix all of our ingredients before we cook off our crab cakes. To that, I cut up some lemongrass. That's basically the long stalks of which you can find in Asian markets, depending or online if you live in some parts of the country that may not have an international aisle or an international vegetable section. But lemongrass is just basically a type of vegetable. It's kind of hard, kind of like a ginger. I'm not sure the exact family, but it's a little tough to cut. Needs to be cooked into something. Doesn't taste great on its own, but you could actually make some great teas with it. And you're gonna pour in a little bit of that into your crab cake mixture. To that, we're gonna add just a little bit of soy sauce. And before we add anything else, we just add a little bit of salt. We're gonna add 2 eggs to this as a binder. Now, you would think you would add other binding ingredients to this, such as the breadcrumbs. I like to do that at the end after adding the crab, so I can see that I'm not adding too much breadcrumbs to it, and I'm not cheating whoever I'm cooking for out of a real true crab cake. So basically, you're just gonna whisk this all together. You know, get your ingredients just all mixed nicely. And this is all just the mixture for the crab cakes. Okay, you're gonna see my bottle. It's a little weird in shape, a little weird in color. It has, if you're able to see it through the magic of the camera, you're able to zoom in. It has a little baby on it. This is a Japanese mayo. It's called Kewpie mayo, like the Kewpie dolls. I guess they found it amusing, so that's where they came up with the title. I'm not really sure if that's true or not. Again, reach back to me on email, and on another episode, I'll apologize if you correct me on this one. You're gonna add some of this Kewpie mayo to it. I like to use this rather than regular mayo. For whatever reason, the Japanese made this a really thicker, more flavor-forward mayo than some of our normal American-style mayonnaise. You could add as much as you like. I probably added a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise to this, and we're gonna again just stir this up a little bit. Now, at this point, it is totally your choice on how you live your life. I like to live it a little on the wilder side. This has raw egg yolk in it, so I wouldn't suggest, if you're pregnant or anything like that, taking a taste. But I just like to see how my mixture is going to taste before I cook with it. Another way to do this is you could always add your crab, add your seasoning, you could cook off one small crab cake, and if it's not to your liking in terms of taste, you could always add more or less of whatever product it is. That is the safer method of doing it. The way you just saw me do it was not as safe, but I have an iron stomach. So to this mixture, just put this off to the side for a second, we're gonna add our crab meat. So here's the thing with crab meat. You can buy many different styles of crab meat. You can buy jumbo lump, you could buy lump, you could buy back fin, you can buy blue crab, red crab. There's a lot of different types of crab. There's one universal thing among them: they're expensive. The higher the lump, the less parts there are in it, such as cartilage or whatever else, the higher the price goes. If you're gonna be making this for a party, and if you people you like, I would use a can of the jumbo lump crab meat, and then mix that in with like a red crab or something, just so it still has a great crab taste to it, but it's not gonna be as beautiful or as flavorful as the jumbo lump or as lumpy, but it will save you in the long run because you won't have to use as much crab, or in your crab cakes, a little bit will go a long way. So I'm basically just putting the jumbo lump in now. And as well as our, this is gonna be a red crab lump as well. To this, again, we're gonna add a little bit more salt. I say a pinch. Again, when you cook one off, taste it for yourself. I have a few years on some of you guys, and a few years cooking, and some of you guys have been cooking professionally for about 20 years now. If I had my business, The Date Chef, God, since it's 19 years this year, it'll be 20 years next year. If you guys want to visit me, I'm at thedatechef.net or on Facebook, The Date Chef. So you can see we have our crab cake. We have no binder except for the egg and a little bit of the mayonnaise. Again, I don't want to be too breadcrumby. Some people like to dip this in egg and then, roll it in the breadcrumbs. You're going to see that a lot at restaurants, mostly because it's going to save them a lot of money and you're paying a lot of money for a crab cake. But since we're going to be making it at home and we're making it for friends, we're making it for a date, you want to impress her or him, and you want to go with as less of a breading seasoning as you can. So again, like I tell you in every episode, sometimes I like to go with the cheating method. Instead of roasting off our like a baguette and crushing it up in a Cuisinart or a food processor and making our own breadcrumbs, I like to buy seasoned breadcrumbs, already done for you. Panko, they're a little thicker than regular breadcrumbs. It's seasoned, so I don't have to deal with it. And I just add to this about a quarter cup. Again, you add as much as you like, depending on how much of a seasoning you want inside your crab cakes. I tend to go with a little less since I'm cooking for other people, and I want them to get all the money they spent on my services as they can. So this is what this is going to look like before you start cooking it, and we'll be back in 2 seconds to put this on the oven for you. Hey guys, welcome back. So we had our crab mixture all set. What I did was while we were away for a few minutes, I chopped up some cilantro, just a small amount to add a little bit of coloring and flavor, a little bit to the dish. Mix that in together. While we were gone, I put the pans on medium heat, about a level 5 or medium, depending on what you have, if you have electric or gas. And I got the pans with a little bit of olive oil, getting ready for our crab cake mixtures. Now, 2 things you could do with this. You can make the crab cakes into balls, whatever size you like. You can make them gigantic, you can make them small, but you're gonna make them the same way you would make like a burger patty. Cup your hand or meatball and just kind of round shape. Also, if you have any of these left over, and let's say you're only having a date night and you don't want to make a ton of crab cakes, make the crab cakes. You could freeze them. They taste great when they've been frozen for, basically put them in a Ziploc bag, stick them in your freezer, take them out within, around about a month, and you could thaw them out, put them right on, and they taste just as good. They actually taste a little bit better because they have a long time of the flavors melding together. But that's just something, if you want to make a large amount of it, you could always freeze it off, and it is perfectly good months from now. So we now want to put this up a little bit higher to maybe about medium-high, or if you have electric, an 8 level. And what we're going to do is we're just going to make some crab cakes. We're going to start with frying off. And while our crab cakes are cooking, I'm going to make a roasted red pepper coulis for you guys. Again, a coulis is just another way of saying a sauce with roasted red peppers, and we'll go into that in a few minutes. So while I'm making these balls, You guys can go get a drink. I'll be back in a couple seconds, and we'll start on the sauce. All right, guys, welcome back. We have our crab cakes on. They're sauteing off. We made them into balls. They've been on a medium to medium-high heat. You could hear the sizzle. You can also start to see the underneath or the bottoms of them are starting to become brown. Depending on how thick they are, you would like to keep it, probably about 7 to 8 minutes, 6 to 7 minutes on each side, but always check because your stovetop may be running hotter than mine, maybe gas and going a little bit quicker. You may have an older stovetop and it takes a lot longer. So always just keep an eye on your crab cakes. You don't want to burn them, but you do want to get a nice brown crust on the bottom. So we'll let those go for a little longer while we build our roasted red pepper coulis. So what I did is I took about 4 red peppers, large size red peppers. I shaved off the sides, left the seeds in the garbage. I put them in a 400-degree oven with some olive oil, and I let them roast off. Conversely, you could also, if you had a gas stovetop, you could basically put the peppers directly onto the flames, rotate them around as they turn black, put them in a large bowl with some plastic wrap, and then peel the skins off, and you'd have the same thing that we have as just putting it in the oven. I find the oven is easier because you could set it, forget it, and not worry about it, walk away and do a bunch of other things. So we're taking our 4 roasted off red peppers. We're going to add them to a blender. To that, we're going to add some more of our ginger mix, basically reinforcing the same flavors that we have in our crab cakes into our sauce. A little bit of ginger. This is probably, I told you before, we're going to use the size of ginger, maybe about this big. We're just going to use the rest of it in this sauce. Again, we're going to use a little bit of lemongrass. Use as much or as little as you like. Again, it's your preference on how much you like. We're going to use a garlic confit. Now, a garlic confit is basically what you do is you're going to take cloves of garlic that are already peeled, and convenience sake, buy the already peeled ones, unless you truly like your hands smell like garlic and spend all day. Take the papers off the regular whole garlic as it is. You're going to take your garlic, cover that in oil, bring that to a boil, let it go and boil for about 2 or 3 minutes, turn it off the heat, and just let it sit for a couple hours, and you're going to have perfectly soft garlic that's almost confit or roasted, or basically it's tender and it takes out that bitter garlic taste. I love it a lot because you can use a ton of garlic. You get a garlic flavor, but it doesn't give you that almost like bitter, cringy face of raw garlic. I like to, again, use a lot of it. That's just me. So we have that in here. To this, we're going to add just a little bit of soy sauce. Not too much. We are going to add to that. Would have dropped that, it would have been bad. Everyone would have made fun of me. Can't have that happen yet. We're going to add some sesame or toasted sesame oil just to give it a little bit more of a body and a little more flavor. And then to that, you could either add chicken broth, vegetable broth, water if you like, if you don't want the taste of other stuff in there. We're going to add that to our pepper mix. I would say maybe about a half a cup, a little more depending on how thick you like your sauce. And again, we're going to add a little bit of seasoning, which in any restaurant, any chef world, any TV show you ever watch, they say add seasoning, season your meat, season this. All that is a little bit of salt and or pepper, your choice. And we'll add a little bit of pepper to this, just to keep the seasoning as perfect as we can. So this, we're going to add this to our blender. You could use a food processor. You could use whatever you like. See how this works. And we're going to let that go for a couple of minutes. While that's going, we're going to flip our crab cakes. They should be ready. All right, guys. So inevitably, when you're flipping your crab cakes, there's always going to be one or two of them that get a little messy. Those are the ones you eat in the kitchen and you don't tell anyone about. Unfortunately, I do this in front of all of you, so we're going to pretend that they don't exist. I'm not joking. I'm going to eat them when you and the guys aren't looking. Why do you think I go to so many commercial breaks? But you can see when they're cooking, they're a great brown color. They're, you can tap them. They're a little bit crispy on one side, which is how I like my crab cakes. Also, you can see you don't need all that breading. I'm going to get a lot of hate mail from the restaurant owners, but all that breading does, they tell you it makes it crispy. No, it just saves them money because you're not eating as much crab and you're eating more breading. But you can see these are cooking along nicely. While these are cooking, you could do one of two things with your coulis. First, you're going to taste it to see how it tastes, for one, to see if you have to add any more salt, to see if you have to add any more acid, any more oil, whatever it is the case, if you want to add more of. You're looking at me going, Chef, why are you putting the sauce on the back of the spoon? Well, because I don't like to do dishes. And if I put it on the back of the spoon, I could use the front of the spoon to taste on a second time, and I'm not double dipping and no one else is tasting my spit. Oh, that's good. That actually needs nothing else. Although I may turn the spoon around and take another taste because it is really good. Now, with your roasted red pooper, I did it again. You 5-year-olds and 21-year-olds are out laughing at me right along right now because I said the word pooper. I know, I said it again. Started laughing. It's become a drinking game. Every time I say it and I mess up, you got to do a shot and see what happens to you by the end of the episode. But yes, so with our red pepper coulis, you can serve it one of two ways. You can serve it warm, or you can serve it like I just did, just slightly cold after you roasted the peppers. I actually like it a little colder because it acts as a counterpart to the crab cakes that are going to be scorching hot when they come off. And in a few minutes, we'll come back to plate these crab cakes, show you a quick garnish for the top of the crab cakes, and plate up our sauces as well. See you in a few minutes. All right, guys, welcome back. Thank you for taking a little break with me. I needed it. Okay, so we got our roasted red pepper coulis done. It tastes fantastic. I'm gonna serve it, like I said, on a slightly warm side. It's still warm from the roasted red peppers that I took out of the 400-degree oven earlier. They roasted off. Our crab cakes, I just turned down the heat on them just to keep them warm so I could serve my guests a warm platter of crab cakes. And I'm just gonna do a quick garnish for you guys. Just so we're gonna top this, the garnish on top of the crab cakes. Add a little bit more sweetness, balance of the flavors of the red pepper and the sesame oil and the vegetable broth and all the other good ginger and garlic and other spices that we put in here. And then we're gonna plate it up for you. So what my garnish is I thinly sliced an Asian pear. Asian pears are great. They're expensive, but they're great. They're usually about this size. They're gigantic, but they're just for what they are, they're awesome. So I basically sliced them thin. You could do that if your knife skills aren't great. If you don't want to do it with a knife, you could slice them thin on a mandolin. Just be careful because mandolins are super sharp, as are knives. But I have cut myself on mandolins. I have cut myself on knives. So basically with this, I cut them in half. I'm gonna cut these into just little matchsticks, I guess you could call it. You could call them julienne, whatever the terminology you like to use. I'm basically just creating a little bit of a garnish that I'm gonna be placing on top of some of the crab cakes just to give it a little more of a wow factor, prettiness factor, however you want to call it. But again, you want to get a little bit of the skin. And again, this is just for a little bit of prettiness sake, add a little bit of sweetness to an overly herby dish. These are just mango slices. They've been cut thin. Again, ripe mangoes, yellow mangoes, whatever type of mangoes you want. I'm just chopping them in half a little bit just so I could splay them out a little more. So when you're ready, when your crab cakes are done, you can check. They're good on both sides. They're moving around your pan very easily. Again, we go with safety's sake. I know that they're done because they're cooked on both sides. They've been cooking for at least about 10 to 12 minutes. But listen, it's your kitchen. If you want to open up a crab cake to the side while no one's looking and sit in the kitchen, tell the kids to get out while you eat one, or your date did not come in yet, try it out. It's warm enough on the inside, it's good for you. So what we're gonna do is just gonna plate a couple of these on the dish. You could use a platter, you can use a dish, you can serve as many as you like. That is totally up to you. What I'm just gonna do here is gonna go down a straight line with the crab cakes. Then, of course, because I'm generally a bit of a messy person, you do want things to be looking good for your date, looking good for your family, looking good for your friends, or if it's even just you eating by yourself, you always want it to be looking the best. What I'm going to do from here is I'm going to take my roasted red pepper coulis sauce. Again, you can put as much or as little of this as you like. It is totally up to you and totally how you like to plate things. I'm not the type of person who's going to tell you have to do a straight line with a swoosh down the middle, and no. So I like to just make a little, a little dip on the top. You could put this on the bottom if you don't want it. I do find if you put a sauce on the bottom that it makes the crab cakes a little soggier on that side, and then when you go to pick them up, they start falling apart. And who wants to ruin all that hard work you guys did in making this stuff? So with this, you're just going to take a few of the Asian pears, a little bit of the mangoes, and you're just going to make it just a topping to add, again, a little more sweetness to the dish, a little bit more height on your already perfect crab cakes, and that is basically it. If you'd like to, if you like a little bit of acid, you could always top this with a little bit of lime juice or lemon juice of your choice. Whatever it is you like to do with your crab cakes is perfect. But in terms of from donuts to dinners, I think the mango adds enough of a bit of a seasoning to it, a bit of an acid to it, and there you have it. We have our crab cakes made with mostly crab with a little bit of panko, some soy sauce, some lemongrass, some ginger. Finish that off with the roasted red pepper coulis. I know you drinkers were out there were waiting for me to say the other word because you wanted to chug a beer. But we'll finish it up with this and have our dish. Again, I'm Chef Chris, and this is From Donuts to Dinners. See you on the next episode.